start with the topic, and then if you have any queries, then we can take the queries. Okay. I'll just, I think I can share my screen, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Uh, I think you'll have to make me host to for me to allow to share my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Wait a second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see the presentation? Because I can't.
Ma'am, can you try zooming out? I think the PPT is zoomed in.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
Yes, ma'am, this is visible.
Okay. Just yeah. Is it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Let me just start. Okay. Sorry. Uh, Technology is advancing day by day, and we are getting old day by day. Okay. So to start with my presentation, the topic is NutriTalks. Let's begin now. What is nutrition? Nutrition is a science of food and its interaction with. I'll just close this up because I can't see. Okay, with an organism to promote and maintain health. So when we say that it's a science of food and its interaction with an organism, we have to see three main parts of this definition. That is, first thing is nutrients. Science of food deals with nutrients. Now, though we consume food, the nutrients in form of food, but what we are basically interested is the nutrients that they are there in the food present. Okay, so nutrients. Second is body composition. That means when we say that the food is promoting and maintaining the health, we are basically talking about body composition, as in how it is helping us to maintain our maybe bone mineral density, how it is helping us to maintain our weight, maybe a muscle mass or body fat. So when we say that that food is interacting and promoting and maintaining our health, we are basically talking about the body composition, what it is doing to our body composition. And third thing is body metabolism. That means the way we break down or the way we produce things in our body, that the process is called metabolism. Metabolism is basically two things: catabolism and anabolism. That means every day our body is breaking down many complex things. Simultaneously there is anabolism. That means it is also building many things. So the food that we are eating, how it is interacting with this metabolism, is it slowing it, is it fastening it, is it maintaining it? It is what we deal with. So when we say nutrition, though the definition is very simple, that okay, whatever we are eating food, it is talking about that food. But no, here we are looking at the nutrients, we are looking at what it is doing to us, that is body composition, and it we are seeing the body metabolism, that means how it is doing to us, by fastening it or by slowing it. Okay, so when we want to understand a nutrition in detail, we have to understand few things which are commonly used, or which are like the keywords when we want to talk about nutrition. First thing is RDA. RDA is recommended dietary allowance. That means when we say that we are supposed to eat a particular amount of nutrients so that our body will remain healthy, what is that particular amount of nutrients is defined by RDA. So our calories, our protein, fat, everything has recommended dietary allowance, and this has been decided depending on country to country. For example, our RDA may not be as similar to Western countries or cold countries, because our nations tropical conditions or our environmental condition or our eating pattern are slightly different than what other countries follow. So each country, they have their organization and they come up with their RDA. Second thing is food pyramid, very very important. Food pyramid is basically gives an idea of how our daily ideal diet should be. Now this food pyramid, as the name suggests, it comes in a form of pyramid, and it basically tells us what a percentage of food should be in our diet. For example, cereals, how much percentage, and proteins and everything. So food pyramid is also very important if you want to know. Third thing is physical activity, because physical activity is the thing that defines the RDA. Because there can be many people belonging to same age group and same weight and same height and everything, but the amount of physical activity that they are doing defines how much of recommended allowance is needed for them. For example, say two guys who are same age, 20 years old, say, and one of them is gymming and one of them is not. So though they belong to same age group and though they belong to similar, say, background and all, but the energy or the nutrient requirement for person A who is gymming will be different than person B. So physical activity is very important. Physical activity is basically whatever we do when we are not resting, that means the time that we are sleeping. Apart from that, whatever activities that we do, it might be sitting, it might be watching something, it might be washing car, running around, whatever the thing, it comes under physical activity. Now depending on the physical activity, we have been divided as sedentary physical activity, moderate and heavy physical activity. So heavy physical activity people, they come, they are generally blue collar workers, laborers, they come under very heavy physical activity. Moderates are the one who work out, say 30 to 45 minutes every day. Apart from that daily activity, they come under moderate. And sedentary are we who don't indulge in any physical activity. We are just having our day-to-day normal work. Okay. Next is water. Very, very important, because I'll be stressing a lot about water. As you know, 70% of our body is made up of water. So a slight change here and there will create a lot of changes in our body. So when we talk about nutrition, water also plays a very important. So nutrition along with nutrients and physical activity and whatever things that we are supposed to eat, water also is included in it. Now body type, as I said, as physical activity, body type also defines. For example, we have for women, the body type is different than what we have for men. They have more muscle mass percentage, they have more they have less fat mass percentage compared to a woman. We have more fat mass percentage and less muscle. So again, the caloric requirement, protein requirement, everything will change depending on the body type. Age and gender. Age, again, if growing age, like 2-year-old baby, 3-year-old child will have different requirement than adult. Gender, as I said, male and female, If they're even in their growing phase, their caloric requirement or specific requirement for nutrients changes. So these are the factors. What I'm trying to say here is there is no one fix or one paper diet for everyone. Things changes, our calculation changes depending on these factors. Okay, so now we'll come to the nutrient part of it. So what are the main players? There is energy, protein, fat, carbohydrate, vitamins, minerals, and water. Again, as I said, water is very, very important. When we say energy, why do we need energy? Basically, whatever we are doing till the moment we are alive, we need energy to do the activities. It might be talking, it might be even sleeping. Even though we are resting at night, our body is still using energy to do repair work, right? So energy is needed. We get this energy through three sources, that is protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Now these three sources are called as macronutrients because they are needed in large quantity to our body. Protein gives around 4 kilocalories per gram. Fat gives around 9 kilocalories per gram, and carbs gives around 4 kilocalories per gram. But when it comes to day-to-day activity, carbohydrates are the one which are used most commonly by the body, because glucose is the only source which is used by brain first of all to perform its activity. uh, if you I'll just quickly explain. There is a blood brain barrier. Now, as you know, the brain is separated by the body, right? And there is a thin layer of muscles, a thin layer of, you can say, some tissues in between a brain and the rest of body, which doesn't allow all the things that are there in our body to our brain, because brain is very important. It doesn't want any virus in its system, right? So there is a very secure gate which doesn't allow any viruses or any bad stuff which are not supposed to go to brain, because if brain hangs, everything will hang, right? So that barrier is easily crossed by glucose, because glucose is the only source the brain uses. So we get glucose from carbohydrate. So carbohydrate becomes very important source of energy to us. Secondly, carbohydrate also gives us uh, compounds which can be stored in our body. For example, even glucose gets stored in our body when we are fasting, when we have something like when we go to college and we are not eating for say almost half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4 5 hours also we are not eating anything, but still we are able to perform because our body has stores, especially the liver, and this store is generated only when we have enough carbohydrate in our diet. So when we eat carbohydrate, that gets converted into glucose. That glucose, when the extra glucose is there, when all the body parts have used glucose, whatever the extra is there is get converted into glycogen in liver. And if anything extra is still remaining, then it is taken up by muscles and it is stored there. Now, I'll tell you what happens next. Let's come to the that part later. So that is about carbohydrate. Protein generally is not used for energy by the body, because protein has other functions to do, a lot more important functions to do, because the structure that we are made up of is all made up of protein. Our skin, our hair, our nails, tissues, organs, whatever is there in our body is made up of protein. So we have to have protein to take care of those body parts. That's why though even if we might be eating a lot of protein, but that won't be used for energy, but it will be used to shape up this organ or to take care of this organ, right? And third thing is fat. Fat basically is again used for energy source because it provides a lot of energy, but it has also other functions also. For example, some hormones in our body are fat based, so they need fat to be synthesized. so we need fat for that. Some vitamins, for example, I'll come to that. There are fat soluble vitamins which need fat to be stored in our body or to be absorbed wherever they go, so we use fat for that. Then even for digestion, the liver produces a fat based enzyme called bile, which is very essential for digestion of our food. So though fat provides a lot of energy, almost double than what protein and carbohydrate are providing, but most of the fat is used for other purposes, and then if still extra is there, then it is stored and then if more is provided to our body, then it is used for energy. But first it is used to produce these essential enzymes and hormones. Secondly, it is stored, and last resort is used for energy. Why I'm stressing on store is I'll come to that part later. That's why I just want you to remember that extra fat and extra carbohydrate get stored in our body. Okay. uh, Sorry. Okay, so then we'll come to vitamins and minerals. So vitamins are basically chemical compounds which are needed in small quantity. So vitamins and minerals are called as micronutrients because they are needed in very small quantity in our body. We can get it from fruits and other stuff, and all our dietary items that we eat provide us with vitamins and minerals. Their role is like kind of a starter. So for example, if we want to kickstart a bike, or if we want to start the engine, we have to have that spark. When there is a spark, that time only the machine will start. So these vitamins and minerals, they actually act like a spark. So if we are eating lot of protein, fat and carbohydrate, but if we are not eating enough vitamins and minerals, those fat, protein and carbohydrate will be useless to our body will not be able to use them to their fullest extent. So we have to have vitamins and minerals also, so that the process starts, the reaction of anabolism, catabolism starts, and that happens with the help of vitamins and minerals. And water. Now, in vitamins, we have fat soluble and water soluble vitamins. So, fat soluble vitamins are basically vitamin A, D, E, and K. They are called as fat soluble because they need fat as a medium to get transfer in our body, and they also need fat to be stored as a medium to be stored. So we have fat soluble, and we have water soluble vitamins, which are vitamin C, vitamin B1, B2, B3. We are all called as B complex, folic acid, B12. They come under water soluble vitamins. So as the name suggests, they are water soluble. So when we eat extra, if they are more than what is needed, they are flushed out of our body because they are water based. Minerals, again there are two types, where one is normal minerals that we need, and there are trace minerals. That means the minerals which we need in very small minute quantities, such as iodine or selenium and zinc. We do get it from diet, there is no issue as such. But if we follow a particular type of diet for a very long time, we can become deficient in vitamins and minerals. What type of diet, I'll talk about it later. Okay. And last is water. As I said, very essential to our body. Many of our problems arises due to water, low water intake. So whatever you want to achieve health wise, maybe it is weight gain, weight loss, you want to take care of your sugar, you want to take care of your, say, cholesterol, whatever it is, first rule that you have to remember is you have to check your water intake. Very important. Check your water intake, check how much you are drinking, check how frequently you are drinking, and that is the solution, one of the solution to all your major problems. Okay, now we'll come to the the issue part, what is happening. So we have seen that, okay, the carbohydrate, protein, fat, everything is essential to our body, everything is needed. Then why is it causing all the issues? Why we are seeing that India is the capital, a world capital for diabetes? Why is it that India is becoming a capital for heart related diseases? Why it is that all these chronic degenerative diseases, we call them the lifestyle related diseases, we call them, why is it that India is becoming? Okay, do I have to admit these people, or is someone adding them? Can you just confirm it?
Ma'am, I'm adding.
Ma'am.
Okay, 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 yeah, thank you. Mm, okay, so okay, so we will see why is that India is becoming a hub of all these lifestyle related diseases. First thing is our dietary pattern. Now, as I said, that we have a RDA, we know how much we are supposed to eat. Our organizations in our board, in our India, have been telling us to eat a particular amount of carbohydrate, particular amount of protein, fat, and all. But still, why we are facing these health issues? It's mainly because the way our eating pattern has changed over this last 20-30 years. First thing that has changed in our diet is, just okay. First thing that has changed in our diet is carbohydrate. Now, as I said, carbohydrate gives us glucose, and that glucose is utilized by our body, and some amount is stored in muscles and liver, and whatever is extra glucose is there in our body is stored as fat. Yes, when glucose is extra, it gets converted into fat and gets uh, saturated, the the places where we don't want it to get saturated, right? So why all of a sudden is the carbo, we are eating similar, we are eating rice, we are eating wheat, maybe some of us have tendency to eat jowar or bajri, they are the carbohydrate source. So why all of a sudden the glucose is causing problem? It is because of processing. Nowadays, whatever grains or whatever cereals that we are getting are processed. They are not the same that they were 30 or 40 years back, because of many revolution that happens, green revolutions, or the boom that happened in agriculture industry. We had to open a lot of storage practices also, because the grain was getting produced all year round. If you see, we have these two ways of crop cultivation. We have one thing that goes in rainy season, and one thing that goes in mid of, say, our winter, and that time of the year. But now if you see, we are getting grains all year round. Why is that happening? Because they are been produced few years back, because of the revolutions, or the availability of grains, availability of water, availability of fertilizers that can sustain this crop all year round. So what is happening, we have lot of storage. So in order to increase the shelf life of these grains, we have to remove the outer covering, because the outer covering contains some essential fibers, some essential oils, which earlier was not allowing that carbohydrate to go in our body. The carbohydrate content is same. The rice which was eaten 30-40 years back and rice that is eaten now, the carbohydrate percentage is same. But earlier there used to be a outer layer which is to avoid all this carbohydrate to go into our body. But now, due to processing, due to increase their shelf life, all the grains are processed, and they remove the outer covering, so that the grain will stay, it will look shiny, it will stay, and it will be on racks for years. And that is leading to increased glucose absorption by our body. So whatever the extra is there is getting converted into fat. So that is one thing that is happening. Secondly, the fat percentage has been increased in our diet. If you see earlier, the dietary pattern what we used to follow, we used to have tadka system. Still we do follow it, as in the once the food is cooked, a small amount of oil was heated and was added to a so whatever the bulk quantity is, the tadka used to be still in small quantity because we used to heat it, so the flavor used to get absorbed by that oil, so small quantity also would used to suffice. But now if you see the products that we are using nowadays, say it's bread or the atta or whatever the processed food that we are eating, biscuits or cakes, confectionaries, bakery items, they are loaded with fat. We were not eating them 30-40 years back, but that has been included in our diet now, so that has again changed. Third thing is inclusion of sugary products, sweets. So whenever we used to have some festival, that was the only time we used to have some sweets prepared. But nowadays, due to easy availability of a lot of sweet shops, or easy availability of confectionery or chocolates, all these things, sweet has become like a daily thing, and people have developed sweet tooth like a major thing. It's like if they don't eat a sweet every day, the world is going to end for them. So that has happened, and we have increased our sugar and sugary food intake to such a high level that has been causing a lot of problem to us, that is giving us a lot of calories, lot of glucose basically, which our body uh, is doesn't know what to do, because our physical activity has been same 30-40 years back. If we were doing some kind of work, the work level, actually it has become more worse. We have become more sedentary now. This lockdown, if you have seen, we all are working from home, so we are literally not going out. We are at home, we are on our laptop, we are doing everything sitting, or sometimes even sleeping, right? Thanks to all the gadgets, right? So the physical activity has reduced to such a drastic level, but the calories that we are eating, the fat that we are eating has increased so much, right? So all these things is causing all the issues. And if we want to work on it, we have to work on all these things. Next thing is habits. uh, Abuses like drug use or alcohol abuse or smoking, which was not that common few years back, has become like a trend nowadays. So that is also affecting our body somewhere, and it is causing some issues in our body. It is affecting our organs which are supposed to work in particular way, they are not able to perform because of these habits, these abuses that we have. And last is availability. Availability as in the products that are available nowadays can contain or may contain some chemicals, some pesticides, fertilizers, which our body is not supposed to be taking. We are not supposed to take chemicals, uh, cyanides or poison which are meant for the animals to get killed. So those chemicals are finding a way in our body, and somewhere they are disrupting our mechanism. So all these factors are causing all the health related issue. It can be as simple as constipation to as complicated as cancer, or even nowadays the talk of this thing is immunity. All these systems are getting affected because of these five factors. If we want to improve our health, these are the things that we want to work on. Even if someone is having some health related issues, these are the five things that they have to work on. There is no magic, or there is no abracadabra thing here, that if we just do something, or if we just give one pill and all our health related issues are going to go. No, that is going to happen only if we fix all these five things in our life. Okay, so lifestyle is basically the stress and sleep pattern. uh, Stress has tremendously affected our life and we are not aware about it. It is causing the way we think. it is affecting the way we talk to people, the way we interact with people. It is affecting the way we feel things. I mean, we have psychology students, and we have people in this group who will better tell us about stress and their effect on mental health of people, and how they are not able to perform the way they are supposed to be. And somewhere that gets, it has an impact on our body's mechanism also. So though we say that it is all related to cognition, or it is all related to mind thing, but stress, if it is not managed, can have its impact on our digestion, absorption, heart rate, the way we walk, the way we use our muscles, everything will get affected. Sleep is also very important. We have become night owls these days. Sleeping at 12:30, 1 o'clock has become like a normal these days. Like, it has been looked down upon if you sleep early. Like, are you like 70s if you sleep at 10 o'clock? Is this, I mean, I'm sure you are much younger. Well, I mean, you know the trend, right? But that is not how it is supposed to be. The body needs time to come out of the day-to-day activity that we do. It needs time to come out of it. It needs time to repair the systems. So if we give very less time to our body to repair, it is not going to. It's like your computer is not. I mean, it's hanging repeatedly, and you're still trying to put it on, and it is not functioning. Maybe the screen is blinking, maybe the keypad is not working, maybe some files are getting deleted. That will happen if you're not giving time to your body to repair on its own. It will happen on its own, so you have to just give that enough time, right? So sleep and stress comes under lifestyle. So all these 5 factors we have to manage if we want to prevent ourselves from disease, or if you want to come out of any disease. So the consequences, first is metabolic diseases. As I said, diabetes, heart related diseases, thyroid, PCOD, all are metabolic diseases. That means they are problems at the anabolism and catabolism reaction of the body. That means some things are not getting formed or are not getting produced the way they are supposed to, or some things are not getting broken down the way they are supposed to be. So that is called as metabolic diseases. Digestive problems, small things like constipation or diarrhea, or difficult digestion some people have, they don't digest few things, or sensitivity, wheat sensitivity, milk sensitivity, intolerance. These things were not there a few years back, and we are now getting sensitive to lot of stuff in our food. That's because of our bodily systems are not working that they're supposed to be. Sleep, again, if it's like a cycle. If you're not sleeping properly, it is going to affect your system. If it is affecting your system, again, you're not going to sleep properly, because there might be pains and aches, and you may not be able to have a proper restful sleep. And then it can lead to more stress. Like, if you have any some health issues, then it will add up to your stress, and again it will become a vicious cycle. Cognitive challenges, as I said, if we are not allowing a laptop or a mobile to shut down properly and restart properly, it is not going to perform very well. Same thing, our mind is not going to perform if we are burdening it with lot of stuff, right? So it may not help you with memory, it may not help you with thinking. This happens, like at the time of examination, we tend to forget things which are supposed to be by heart uh, hour prior, right? So that is just one example. It is not that because of faulty diet or because of faulty something, you are not able to recall things. But yes, stress and what you can say, insufficient diet somewhere can lead to poor memory, poor thinking, and poor what you can say, behavioral modification. The way we express ourselves, anger or frustration or whatever it is, if we are healthy, we will be able to express our feelings also better, we will be able to manage them also better. So that also affects somewhere. And autoimmune diseases, Autoimmune diseases can be like a type 1 diabetes, or it can be like asthma, or many things. If you see, the percentage has been increasing steadily over the year, because somewhere our immune system also has been challenged. Somewhere it is not getting what it is supposed to get. Okay. So that was about the consequences. And as I said, if you want to come out of the issues, we have to take care of all those 5 parameters. Now there are few new things that are there in nutrition field, which has found a very important, a very effective role. First of all is antioxidants. Now it has been seen that antioxidant can actually help us prevent a lot of these diseases. It can be thyroid, it can be psoriasis, it can be many health related issues can be prevented if we have a very good intake of antioxidant. Now antioxidants are nothing but the colorful chemicals which are there in our fruits and vegetables. So all our colorful fruits, colorful vegetables, grains, everything, milk products, the more colorful, the better antioxidant content it will be. Of course, natural, not colorful as in chips, or colorful as in chocolates. No, or sweets. No, they are not the processed food, but the natural organic food. The more colorful it is, the more antioxidant it will provide us, the more it will benefit our body. Second thing is fiber. Fiber has been found to be very very effective when it comes to digestion, when it comes to taking care of your liver health, digestive health. Fiber is present in all our grains, all our pulses, fruits, if we eat whole fruits. If we make juice out of it, if we remove the skin, if we remove the good part of out of it, we are not going to get fiber. Same thing happens with grains. If we polish them, if we process them, our dals, the polished dals, if we start using them, we are not going to get a lot of fiber from it. So we have to include unpolished grains, unpolished pulses. We can also include the pictures that are mentioned, the nuts and seeds, like methi seeds, flax seeds, or the Niger seeds, or sesame seeds. They're very good source of fiber. They're very good source of essential oils. Again, the fat that we are eating is processed fat. It is basically fat which has been chemically prepared so that the products can stay longer, they can increase the shelf life of it. But that fat is not very helpful to us. What we need is essential oils, which are present in natural seeds and dry fruits and oil seeds and nuts. Okay, so once we include them in our diet, we will get these essential oils which will prevent us, or which will help us have a healthy body and healthy life. Now the next thing that is important is cellular nutrition. So when I was working in hospital, our focus was curative, as in whenever we used to get patient, they were all already have suffering from diseases. Maybe they had reached end stage of their diseases, and then they had come to us to just to maybe take care of their symptoms, or just to delay the progression of the diseases. But now the world is moving towards preventive healthcare. Corona or COVID has made realization among the people that it is always better to take care of ourselves before getting into any diseases. So preventive healthcare has become like a very upcoming topic, talk of the town these days. And there we talk about cellular nutrition. That means we include our food items in such a way that they provide us with lot of these antioxidants, these vitamins and minerals, which in turn will protect our body from various diseases. For example, it has been seen that if we have a very good intake of, say, um, mm, calcium and vitamin D. Okay, vitamin D we get it from sun, and calcium. Then we can prevent bone related diseases such as osteoporosis or frequent fractures of bone. Same way, if we have a very good intake of iron, folic acid, vitamin B12, We all know that for anemia only iron is needed. No, but along with that, if we also need vitamin B12 and folic acid. So then we can prevent anemia, or we can cure out of it. Same thing when it comes to say diabetes. It has been seen that along with good protein and good carbohydrate, if we have minerals such as selenium, zinc, it can also prevent ourselves from getting into diabetes or heart related. So these are just example. And as I said, there is no one fixed diet for all individual. It depends on person to person, and depending their risk factor. For example, if they have family history of particular diseases, or if they are following a unhealthy diet, or if their physical activity is not that great, then according to that those changes are made in their diet, so that they get those essential nutrients which will help in cellular nutrition, which will prevent them from getting into those health related issues. Okay, so we are towards the end of nutrition topic. So what is the takeaway point here, or what to all these things is okay, but what to follow is what we need, right? So what do you mean by a healthy diet? A healthy diet should be all inclusive. That means we cannot follow a particular type of eating pattern for very long time. For example, if I like say only a particular type of vegetable, I will not eat any other type of vegetable but just that vegetable only. No, then the benefit of other vegetables or fruits or whatever products that you don't like or are not included in your diet, you will get deficient out of it. Now of course, I'm not saying people do follow a lifestyle, for example vegetarian or vegan or non-vegetarian or whatever, lacto-vegetarian or ovo-lacto-vegetarian, then we cannot force them to include the foods that are not allowed in their culture. So in that case, we can find some alternative which they will have to include, right? But all inclusive, that means we have good quality protein, we have vitamins, minerals, good quality fat and carbohydrate is what we need. Food groups, that means we are including, there is no only carbs and fat in our diet. We have to see that there is different types of pulses, there are different types of vegetables, fruits, even seasonal fruits, organic, that will be the best thing. Then even in grains, not just only focusing on rice and wheat, maybe including millets such as ragi or jowar or bajra, including different types of pulses such as soybean or rajma, chole, which are not generally consumed, something like that. But we have to include different food groups in our diet, so that we get benefits of all these things. Variety, again it says that going for seasonal, going for colorful, going for organically produced, that also will help. And quantity and quality of food, quantity also matters. So say I include a fruit, but I include maybe a small slice of it, it will not give me that much benefit that it is supposed to give. So we have to see the quantity also. Again, as I said, the quantity of these food groups will depend on person to person. And we have to see quality also, what type of food we are eating, is it processed, is it organic, how many chemicals are there. Whenever we are buying processed food, just check the label, just check the amount of unnatural things that are added to it, and decide, is this what you want to go for it. So we have to see the quality of food also. Physical activity, if you are a total sedentary person, start including some physical activity in your lifestyle, right? It can be as basic as walking or skipping or cycling, swimming, whatever you like, but include a physical activity minimum of 30 minutes every day. That is the basic requirement for each and every one. 30 minutes every day, some physical activity we have to start. Secondly is lifestyle. That means your stress and sleep pattern. See that you are at least giving 7 to 8 hours of sleep the body needs, right? Of course, that sleep cannot be at 1 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock. I had my 8 hours sleep. No, it has to be, see, we have something called as circadian. That means depending on sunrise and sunset, our body's mechanism changes, or our body's activity changes. So when sun rises, there are certain hormones that activates and certain hormones are shut down. And when sun sets, again the hormones which were active entire day, they shuts down, and new hormone, I mean the hormones which acts at night or enzyme which acts at night, they start working. So we have to follow a particular time. So getting, getting to bed as early as possible and getting up early with sunrise is what is a circadian cycle, and that will help us to have a healthy lifestyle, or a healthy healthy body and a healthy future. Stress is also very important. Try to include some hobbies, or talk with your friends, or do something that helps you to relieve your stress. Maybe taking away from social media if that is what's stressing you, or maybe taking away from your day-to-day activity, just a change, so that the stress levels are managed and stress level are reduced, so that it helps your body to perform very well. Treating it right way, that means if you have some issues, instead of just popping pills, maybe some aches here and there, just taking painkillers and using, try to see what is going wrong. Try to analyze your lifestyle and then take a decision. Don't just use antibiotics or painkillers, or because these are easily available, but more easily available is food. So try to take care of your health through food and lifestyle first, and then go to medications. It can be any health issues. It will be somewhere solved with the help of your food and lifestyle. So check it there first. Excuse me. And last is preventive healthcare. As I said, if you don't want to get into any health related issues, if you feel that you have a very strong family history of it, then take charge of your life. See that you are following a healthy lifestyle. See that you're taking care of all those five parameters, and prevent yourself. You can do it. Prevent yourself from getting into these diseases, so that you have a healthy future, healthy working life ahead. Okay. That's all from nutrition side. Now let's just quickly see my field, what are the scopes, and what all we can do in this. Okay, first of all, nutrition is upcoming field. Everyone, I mean, it was there in India for quite some time, but this last few years, as we are seeing rise in the diseases, we are also seeing people are moving towards a healthy lifestyle. We are also seeing that people are going to nutritionist or dietitian for help and taking care of their life. So it is upcoming field. It's a lucrative job. Corporate dietitian or corporate nutritionist or celebrity nutritionist these days, they, or sports nutritionist, they sometimes have to I mean, they take care of high profile players, or high profile celebrities, or high profile companies. So if you have liking in this field, you can be in that area also. Now, there are two ways people are working in this field. One is nutritionist, and other one is dietitian, or both spellings are correct. So, nutritionists are basically food nutritionists. So, what they do is they are basically involved in food industry. So, the label that you see behind food products, or the nutritive value that is written, or the information that is written, or what type of products to be produced, or shelf life and all, that is done by nutritionists. So many of these food product related companies, they hire, or they have nutritionists in them, with them. And dietitian, they basically deal with as I said, preventive healthcare or curative healthcare. So they are working with fitness, helping people to have a healthy lifestyle. Oh, I'm I'm sorry. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you? I think I just. Uh,
Ma'am, share the
Ma'am,
PPT, please.
yeah. I'll share the screen.
I
Network
think there
issue
was
maybe,
some
okay?
network issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was some network issue
It's
from
okay.
my side, I think.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am. It
Okay.
is
So you
visible.
just. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so they basically deal with new food preparations and all. Dietitians, they basically deal with diet planning and diseases, medical nutrition therapy, it's what we call them. Now the course that I mean, if you want to follow regular course into this, ideally it is BSc in home science. So nutrition comes under home science. In home science we have lot of specialization. There is human resource management, there is human development and psychology, then there is textiles, and many things are there, ergonomics, they all come under home science. And one of the topic is nutrition. So after 12th, after 10 plus 2, if someone wants to follow a regular course in nutrition, they have to first do BSc, that is BHSC, BSc in home science. And by taking specialization nutrition in your second year or third year, depending on the pattern the college follows. Some of them they follow second year, they give specialization, or some they give third year. But first year you'll have to learn all the specialization which are there in home science. That means including textiles and human development and resource management. Okay, then after taking the specialization as nutrition, then you can go for either masters or PG diploma. Now many of the universities, many of the states, they do have BSc home science colleges. All of the states, they have their own government home science colleges, but very few may have masters program in them. For example, Goa, we don't have master's program here, or we even don't have PG diploma program here when it comes to nutrition. So we have to go out of Goa and do the courses. Now masters and PG diploma, the basic difference is uh, the project, that means the thesis. So masters and PG diploma, if they choose a similar field, for example, if I did masters in clinical nutrition and dietetics, there is also a PG diploma available in clinical nutrition and dietetics. The syllabus will be same, but I will have to do a thesis extra to get my degree. PG diploma people, they don't have to do thesis. There is 1.5 year, almost 1 year and 10 months course that they have to do. This is generally done because PG diploma is taken by people who are more into practicing as a dietitian in hospital or as a nutritionist. MSc is done if you want to go into teaching line. So once you do masters, then you can qualify for UGC net, then you can answer your that, you can further go for your PhD or MPhil, or after that, or you can do your net set and you can start teaching in a home science college or university. So those who are inclined towards teaching, they generally go for masters. But those who want to practice as a dietitian or nutritionist, a PG diploma will also give you similar access to the syllabus that they have. So that can be done in sports nutrition, then maternal nutrition, maternal and child care is also very up and coming topic. Then they can do it in clinical nutrition as I did. They can do it in food science and nutrition, so as a food scientist or nutritionist. It can also be done in community healthcare, community nutrition. So you can work with organizations such as UNICEF and WHO and do something with them also, wherein they do surveys among people and see that their nutritional policies decide on that. And there are also on now for BSc MSc, as I said, you have to have it a regular this thing. For For BSc Home Science, you don't have to be a science 12th pass. It can be arts, commerce, or science. Any stream is allowed because they have their own entrance examination. So each college will have their own entrance examination. You will have to answer that, and depending on your merit list, you will get admitted in, even for masters and even for PG diploma. They have their own home science, I mean own entrance exam, because even BSc biotechnology or microbiology people can also get into nutrition if they clear the entrance exam. Now there are some online distance courses also. If you are interested in knowing about nutrition, but you're not from that background, but you still want to do some certification courses, or you still want to know about it, you can do online distance courses. Okay, so these are the few colleges that are there, very famous. As I said, all the governments, all state governments, they have their home science colleges. SNDT is there in Mumbai, Pune, SNDT Santa Cruz, and SNDT Kalina. I did it from SNDT Santa Cruz. We have a PGSI department as a post graduation and studies and research. Then they have in Pune, Nirmala Niketan is another famous college in this. SVT college is autonomous college. Nirmala Niketan comes under Mumbai University. SNDT is the own university. SVT is autonomous. Then SPN Doshi College, which is there in Ghatkopar, they also have courses in nutrition. Baroda, Maharaj Sayajirao University is also very famous when it comes to nutrition related courses. Banastali from Jaipur, they also have a lot of courses. NIN is our institute, National Institute of Nutrition. They have a lot of courses, but they are all regular courses. When it comes to distance learning, IGNU and SNDT have their courses. You can go to their respective sites and you can check it. When it comes to certificate courses or diploma courses, there is no educational qualification background that is needed, but this distant learning, they also give provide you with master's and bachelor's degree. So if anyone wants to do a bachelor or master degree, then you will have to have the same qualification, that is 12 pass for bachelor's and BSc home science for masters, but you can do it via distant centers. Okay, now if you just want to know little more about nutrition, as in you don't want to study it, but you just want some reading materials to go through, if you're interested to know, then this is a book that I also like. I just like it. We do have a lot of syllabus related book, but this book is something that can be read by anyone. It's like common man's book. What your doctor doesn't know about nutritional medicine may be killing you. It is written by a doctor, is a MD doctor, and he saw a tremendous impact of nutrition on health, and he wrote a book about it. So you can check it out. It's very nice, interesting book. Then you can also follow some celebrities, nutritionists and dietitians, nutritionists on social media, such as Rujuta Divekar, Luke Coutinho. They are basically into lifestyle related, and Ryan Fernando, he's especially into sports nutrition. So all the sports nutrition interested, or sports or gym goers, or fitness freak, they can check out their profiles. They share a lot of valuable information. I'm sure you'll surely get some help from there. And yeah, that's it from my side. I'm sure I've taken a lot of your time, and I hope I made some sense, and I hope you were able to understand what was happening here. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram. That's my page name and Instagram handle there. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Back to the host.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an informative and amazing section. Now let's move to the question and answer section.
Yes.
I hand it over to Shravya.
Ma'am, I'll ask the questions one by one. You can answer them.
Okay.
The first question, ma'am, what do you think about the latest diet trends, such as the keto diet and the intermittent fasting, etc.?
Okay. Yeah. I'll just tell you a brief about these two names that you said. First is intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting follows a pattern wherein they feel that the body does not need to be eaten very frequently. They feel that if we follow 12 to 14 hours of fasting between our two meals, then it will help our body to repair itself a better way and to take care of itself, right? So as I said, the circadian cycle, so intermittent fasting basically work on that. So what they prefer is early dinner, as as early as when the sun sets. You can have your dinner with them, and your breakfast will be with sunrise. So it almost follow, or little later than that also. So you're fasting for almost 12 to 14 hours. So you're giving your body enough rest that it needs, and you can take care of it. Now there are two sides of it. Intermittent fasting really works. It's very good and people can follow it. There is no problem, as long as you're not suffering from any diseases. As in, if you are a diabetic and if you are on insulin, then fasting for 14 15 12 to 14 hours may not be beneficial, or you will have to consult your doctor and your dietitian for your plan. You can follow it, of course, but you will have to consult with them. Secondly, if you are having some health, I mean, if you are like expecting, or if you are nursing, then fasting for such a long time also may not be very effective. It might not provide that much nutrients that are needed. So we will have to see. Otherwise, a normal healthy individual can follow intermittent fasting, but of course check it with your professional, your dietitian, and get your diet on track. But along with that is also important is your lifestyle and what type of diet you eat. For example, you do 12 to 13 hour fasting, but daytime if you eat only junk food, that 12 hour fasting is not going to help you much. So though it's a dietary pattern, we have to see what we are eating also. So that's one thing. Secondly, keto diet is basically a clinical diet, as in it has been followed in people suffering from uh, they have epilepsy. It's kind of epilepsy wherein the epilepsy is not reacting to any medication. It's a neural disease. It's a neural deformation wherein they get into seizures. They have these fits, and people are sometimes born with it or they can develop it. It's a cognitive disorder. There is nothing much to recover from it. But keto diet has been found to be very effective in that, taking care of those patients. But it was also seen that keto diet was helping in weight loss. So then, how how the internet is, anything that works for weight loss is it spreads like wildfire. They don't check it, like what are the consequences of it, or what will be the thing. The basis of keto diet is your carbohydrates are totally cut down from your body, and fat is used as energy source. But as I said, our brain needs glucose, right? So what happens is, in epilepsy patient, it helps them because their neurons are firing very fast because they take a lot of glucose from body. So there it is helping. But it may not help in a normal person. I mean, why to starve your brain when you can have, and it might lead to some issues which were not supposed to occur if you had followed a healthy diet. So keto diet for weight loss, I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not for it. Intermittent fasting, yes, it's very good way of taking care of your lifestyle and taking care of your health.
Next question. Is it safe enough to follow intermittent fasting along with a heavy workout?
Yes, of course. If you're meeting all your protein and calorie requirement whenever you're eating. So when it comes to excessive weight, I mean, gymming and all, if you're doing a lot of physical activity, your protein requirements, your caloric requirements will change. If you're meeting them during the daytime, if you're having a good quality protein diet, if you're having a good snacks in between, yes, there is no issue. But during daytime, if you're not following it, then it will not work. more it will cause weight loss, and it might lead to some issues also. So yes, intermittent fasting can work if the person is healthy and doing excessive physical activity, but with a good diet, good healthy high, like good quality diet.
Can you also share some tips for people who find it difficult to gain weight?
Yes, of course. So, as I said, we have this the energy, I mean, the glucose that we eat, like in the form of carbohydrate, is used by the body, and whatever is extra, some of it is stored as glucose, and other part is stored in various parts of our body. So, that is what we have to achieve when it comes to weight gain. So, we have to see how much of physical activity that person is doing, what type of lifestyle that person is following. For example, stress and irregular sleep pattern can also demand lot of calories, so we have to see that also. We also have to see, as I said, water intake, first thing that we have to check. And we have to see how much of calorie that person is eating along with protein. Okay, so when calories and protein are taken together, okay, when calories and okay, I hope it's working, right? Something is it my okay, sorry.
No, ma'am, it's
So
okay.
yeah, so when all these things are checked, then yes, weight gain will happen. So things that we have to see, first is water intake. Kindly check how much water you are drinking. Now the rule of thumb is a general what you can say formula I can tell you. Check your weight, whatever the weight is, divided by 30. That will be the liters you will have to drink. For example, your weight is 60 kilos, divided by 30, that means 2 liters. 2, right? So 2 liters of water you have to drink. So check your weight, divide it, and see how much of water you are supposed to drink and how much you are drinking. Okay, so first check your water intake. Secondly, check your physical activity, as in if you are not like physically active, then I would suggest you start some physical activity so that your muscles will use up that protein and calories, and will swell up. Basically, that means weight gain. We don't want that glucose to get converted into fat. We want that glucose to get converted into muscles. So a good physical activity. Third thing is, we have to see how much of calories you are eating. So what you can do is, you can check your entire day's plan. See how much of quantity of breakfast, how much of quantity of rice of at lunch, or chapati, whatever you're eating at dinner, and see if you can increase it somehow, or you can increase the frequency of it. For example, what we suggest for weight gain is short and frequent meals also. If you are not used to have a if you are not able to increase your lunch and dinner, what you can do is have a snack in between. It can be a high protein, high calorie snack like a milkshake or chicky, or it can be some sprout chart, which will give you calories also, protein also, and it will help you in gaining good weight. So short and frequent meal pattern can also be followed for a good weight gain. Okay, so water, physical activity, and your diet plan, these three things are important.
Ma'am, and diet tips for diabetic people.
Yes. Okay. So as I said, even any kind of disease it is, we have to check these five things. So first thing is dietary pattern that they are following. We have to see amount of processed food that they are there in their diet. It can be as simple as bread and noodles, okay, to bakery and confectionery. So we have to take care of all the refined products in their diet. Not allowed for a diabetic patient, actually not allowed for anyone, but diabetic patient, at least it's not safe for them to go for any processed food. Secondly, we have to see presence of fiber in their diet. Fiber is very very essential. Fiber is like a security guard who doesn't allow troublemaker to get inside. So what it does, it whenever there is fiber in your system, when the fiber is there in your food, what it will do is, it will bind with this glucose, fat, and all this stuff, and it will take away out in the form of excretion, right? It will take out of our body. So a good fiber in our diet will take care of, even in case of diabetic, it will take care of the sugar. So fiber sources are fruits and vegetables and whole grains. So instead of going for normal chapati, maybe a multigrain chapati or bhakri can improve the fiber intake. Instead of going just for plain bhaji, maybe a salad with it can improve the vegetable fiber intake. Maybe instead of going for just fruit, in like something to eat, maybe a good fruit with peel, with the skin, can improve the fiber intake. So these are the small things that can be added to improve fiber, that will help them. Third thing is, again, the meal timing. Diabetic patient, they have to follow their meal time very strictly, because it gets adjusted to their medicine. So they have this time, at particular time the medicine should enter their body, then at same time the food also should be there, right? So the timing is, one day having lunch on time, one day skipping it, that is also not allowed. Fasting and feasting is generally not allowed for a diabetic patient. Fasting for say entire day, and then having a plate full of it is going to create a havoc in body. So timing of meal is also very important, and physical activity, very very important. So whatever the glucose the body has taken up, they have to use it somewhere, right? So only way to use that glucose is doing some physical activity. So once they move out, do some physical activity, that excess glucose will be thrown out of body in the form of sweat. So more the sweat, better will be, in the form of physical activity, of course, better will be for the sugar control. So these are the three main things that I like to see, or go to tips that we can follow. Of course, as I said, it's very individualistic. So in case of any individualistic needs, you can consult your professionals for that. Okay.
Guys, can you please make sure that you're mute? You're on mute, please. Actually, just check. Someone is, I think, not. Okay, let's move to the next question. So, ma'am, what are the benefits of vegan diet, and any tips that we can follow before trying any of these diets, like vegan diet or like going gluten free or lactose free?
Okay. Okay. Now, first I'll talk about vegan diet. So when it comes to vegan diet, the basic concept is anything that comes from animal source is not accepted in that diet. It can be milk, egg, non-veg items, anything that comes from. Nowadays, we do have lot of substitute for this stuff. So even if someone is following a vegan diet, as long as the food have been substituted very efficiently, there is no issue in it. But as I said, we cannot just randomly pick it from internet and follow it. First, we have to see what all we are eating. We have to see our requirement. What is required for that particular age? What is required according to his or her, physical activity or his or her age? Then we have to see how much we are eating, and then we have to see ideal substitute for what we will be missing. For example, first thing that vegan diet lacks is protein, because animal sources provides us with lot of protein. Maybe it's milk, egg, fish, or whatever it is. So when these things are not there, then we have to substitute them with good quality protein, right? So we get it from whole pulses like rajma, beans, or chawli, all those kinds of things. We get it from new type of seeds that are available nowadays, like quinoa or chia seeds, right? They are also provide a good quality protein. We also get sources such as soy products, soy tofu, soy milk. They are also a good protein sources. So if these sources are available and you can go for it, then yes, you can skip the this thing, animal product. Secondly, that lacks is calcium, because milk and milk products are the main source of calcium in our diet. So if we find some replacement for it, for example sesame seeds or rajgira or these things, they are also very good calcium sources. So if we include them, then, but again, see, a glass of milk will provide you a particular amount of calcium. Maybe for that you may have to eat say 30 grams of sesame seeds or something. So this will happen only if you consult a professional, because generally on internet they will not tell you all this quantity. They'll tell you, okay, swipe this, swipe your milk with soy milk, swipe your this with this, but how much quantity, that also we have to see. Okay. Third thing that lacks when person goes on vegan diet is B complex, because B complex vitamins are also very much, especially B12 is again very much present in non-vegetarian product. So anemia, which is generally seen in vegetarianism following people, or can also be seen in vegan. So maybe a supplementation of B12 can help with the this thing. Third, another important nutrient that gets lacking is essential oils like omega 3, omega 6, which have been found to be very effective in taking care of our cognitive health, that is brain health, and also are very effective in some of our hormones. So that we can get it from say some seeds, the seeds which I showed, like niger seeds or methi seeds or even peanuts or coconuts. Okay, they will provide us with enough omega 3, omega 6. But again, as I said, we have to see how much quantity we are consuming. If it is fitting perfectly, yes, people can follow vegan diet, there is no issue. Now we'll come to glucose, I mean, sorry, lactose
Lactose free,
intolerant or
gluten free.
yes, gluten free diet. Now the thing is, lactose intolerant is a condition wherein some people are actually not able to tolerate anything milk related product because of that lactose protein which is there in the milk. So as I said, there are a lot of options available. If someone is lactose intolerant, they can go for a calcium, other calcium sources and other protein sources, because these are the only two things that are lacking when someone is not having milk: vitamin, I mean calcium and protein. So if they're replacing it with something, then there is no issue, they can follow. When it comes to gluten, now gluten is present in wheat and many of wheat related products like salmonil, like rava or the sevia or all those things. So if we are saying that we are gluten following a gluten free diet as a trend, then I would suggest then those people should go for millets such as ragi or jowar or bajra. They cannot replace it with maida or processed food, because they also come without gluten. Basically, maida is wheat flour from which the fiber and things are removed. So that can be tolerated by gluten sensitive people. But that doesn't mean they will go for it, because that won't be very nutritious to eat. So if someone is following a gluten free diet, yes, they can follow. As I said, carbohydrate basically provides us with calories and glucose. So if we replace it with some other grains, they can follow, there is no issue, no problem. But if they have any medical condition related to it, then they have to go for other whole grains instead of going for refined products just to replace it.
Ma'am, and how do we know that the food we consume is fulfilling our daily vitamin and mineral requirements?
Okay. Now, for that, what the guidelines says that we have to have almost 300 to 600 grams of fruits and vegetables in our diet. Now, having said that, here variety is also important. I cannot be eating a half kilo of bananas all the time and saying, okay, I'm getting all the nutrients that in it, or half kg of potato, favorite vegetables of people. If I start eating that, I cannot say that I'm getting all the vitamins and minerals. Variety is the key. So try to have as inclusive fruits and vegetable in your diet, and the quantity should be around 300 to 600. That means roughly 2 fruits per day, and a medium katori, what we have it. Okay, that is around two and a half when it comes to vegetable. Okay, that's approximately for vitamins and minerals. But there are slight health signs that you can check. For example, dryness, your skin is feeling dry, your hair, there is a dandruff or the scalp is feeling dry, then it can be deficiency of vitamins, it can be deficiency of minerals. Your hair are lustless, then it can be and your skin is like, you can see freckles on it, then it can be a deficiency of fat soluble vitamins, and such as vitamin A, vitamin D. So you will have to check for that, because vitamin A is basically for keratin. The hair that we get is protein along with vitamin A. So protein also we have to check, and especially for vitamin A, especially for vitamins and minerals, these are few signs. Third thing is altered taste sensitivity. That also has been seen if you are not eating enough amount of vitamins and minerals. So if you're not able to recognize taste, or if you are getting a particular type of taste only and not other taste, then you can go for another vitamins and minerals. You can have it. Secondly is your eyes. Okay, dryness in your eyes, or they are itchy, or you're not able to, it's itching or it's paining, then it can also be vitamin A and zinc related deficiency. So we have to check it. Now these are all signs. If you check, like if you take it seriously, if you start popping pills for it, like there is some hair fall and there is thing, you start applying some chemicals, you start using some outer things, it will help you to certain extent only. As long as you are not fixing it from inside, outer things are not going to help you, right? So all inclusive diet is the key. That's it. I mean, there is nothing like more to say to it.
Ma'am, and how can we lower the cholesterol in our body through our diet?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, we have to see from where we get this cholesterol. Plant products do not give us any cholesterol. Maybe it is plant extracted oil, maybe it is fruits, vegetables, grains. They don't give us cholesterol. Cholesterol generally we get it from animal products, milk, then paneer, like milk product, egg, fish, all those things. But our body also produces cholesterol, because as I said, fat is used for various hormones in our body. The form in which body produces is cholesterol first. So body produces cholesterol, it goes to different part of body, and then the body uses that cholesterol to prepare hormones that they need. Okay, so cholesterol is produced, but that is very small quantity, and we cannot stop it normally. So what we can do is we can control what we are eating through diet. So reducing on your heavy meat, organ meat especially. Organ meat contain lot of like liver or breast or brain, of animals. They contain lot of cholesterol. So controlling on heavy meat. Second is controlling on red meat. That is again the uh, meat with a lot of oils that they lose, like those kinds of part of animal, that can be avoided. We cannot like totally this thing, but you have to see how frequently we are taking it, so we have to avoid it. And including good oils. So what happens is, when there is extra bad that is coming through our diet, if we include good oils, they will counterbalance. So including good seeds, including good quality lean meats like fish and all. Okay, that can counteract the bad cholesterol that is coming. Now to control the liver production, what we can do is including lot of fiber. So as I said, fiber is like a security guard which doesn't allow anyone to go in. It also takes care of the cholesterol which is produced by liver. So it binds with it and it takes it out of our body. So whatever the extra which is there is taken out of body. And once we control through our diet, the results will come down. But as I said, it is not a magic. Today I started eating healthy, very next day my cholesterol report is not going to come down. It takes 2 to 3 months of your healthy dietary changes and lifestyle to have a good effect. Okay.
And the last question, can you share some tips for vegetarian and non-vegetarian diet?
Okay, yes. So first I'll talk about vegetarian diet. As I said, for vegan, same thing applies for vegetarian diet, because if you see a vegetarian diet, it is more of carb base. There will be a more of rice or chapati, and there will be small amount of, say, dal or some pulse item. There will be some small amount of vegetable, right? So here the protein is lacking. Vegetarians, we have to find some way to include protein in our diet. So including pulses is the best way to improve your protein intake. So have sprouts, have usal, we make the usal out of pulses. Have just raw pulses if you like it, have just steamed it, and add some, make it like a chaat. We add some masalas to it and have it. But try to include at least two small watis of pulses in your daily diet. That is the basic thing. Along with, if that vegetarian person is following a lacto vegetarian, I mean, if they are drinking milk, then of course through milk and milk product they will get some amount of protein. But the rule of thumb for vegetarian is going like all out on pulses. Include lot of pulses, and try to include whole pulses like moong, masoor, whatever the locally available, like chanas or matki. They are very nutritious. They provide us with lot of things that we may not get from other stuff, right? So include lot of pulses. Secondly is, very very common is iron, B12, folic acid deficiency. So for that, we have to include green leafy vegetable, first thing. Okay. And secondly, we have to have a good vitamin C also in our diet, for that iron and folic acid to work properly. So vitamin C, we get it from, say, lime, lemon, guava, these fruits, sweet limes, citrus fruits. So inclusion of at least one citrus fruit daily in diet is very very essential when it comes to vegetarian. uh, okay. Other fruit can be anything. As I said, two fruits we have to include. One fruit has to be a citrus fruit, and one fruit can be any other fruit that they like. Third thing that they have to check out is essential oils. Again, vegetarian people sometimes do lack in essential oils. So there, as I said, those seeds, like nuts and seeds, we can make chutneys out of it. We used to, if you see a traditional Indian diet, there has to be a chutney in our diet. But now that chutney has been replaced with Shezwan chutneys, and I don't know what sorts of packet chutneys that you get. So let's go back to what we used to follow earlier. Let's make coconut chutney, garlic chutney. Let's make methi ki chutney. I'm sure if you ask your parents, they will tell you a list of chutneys that they used to eat. Flaxseed, alsi chutney is very common. Then Niger seeds chutney. Lots of chutneys. You can do it, include it in your diet, and that will give you the essential oils. Even non-vegetarian. I'm not I'm not making them this thing of it. They can also include it, but especially vegetarian, because we do like essential oils, and these are the best way to get it. Dry fruits are also very best way to get these essential oils and minerals. So include some dry fruits in our diet, maybe in form of chikkis or laddus. You can include them in our diet and we can have it. So that is for vegetarian. And again, variety is the key for both. We cannot have a liking and a particular type of that entire life, right? So we have to have variety. When it comes to non-vegetarian, first thing that they have to check is oil intake. In their case, sometimes it exceeds what they are supposed to eat, right? So going for microwaving, or going for shallow frying instead of deep frying stuff, or going for steam cooking instead of doing oil fry. These things can be done to cut down on oil that has been going through your diet. That is one way to check. Second thing is, again, calories. uh, because when the non-vegetarian product is produced, non-vegetarian item is prepared, a lot of ghees and malai, or extra things are added, or two times tadka or three times frying is done, then again tadka is added or something. So we can do away with some oil that has been added there, so that calories can be controlled. Third thing is we have to see the source, see that it is not some organ meat, trying to go more on lean cuts of this thing. Deskinning of your chicken also reduces the fat, going for fish instead of heavy this thing. So that also helps. Third thing is fiber. When it comes to non-vegetarian diet, it has been seen that the fiber is somewhere lacking, because they will have some non-veg curry, and then they will have rice, some small amount of vegetable, and maybe something for tasty to eat, right? So fiber is lacking, and that is actually causing all the health related issue when it comes to non-vegetarian product. So a salad is must in the diet, of course, for vegetarian also, but non-vegetarian especially, because of the cholesterol that is going to be there in that non-veg, can be taken care by that fish, I mean that salad. So include salad in lunch and dinner, that also can help. Another thing that is needed when it comes to non-vegetarian is antioxidant. As I said, whatever the calories or fat or protein that they're eating, if it is not being used properly, it is of no use. So a good fruit intake and good vegetable intake is also necessary, right? So variety, and try to include these things, they will help.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all our questions. Now I hand it over to Rastika for the vote. Rastika, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected. So yeah, I would like to thank Ms. Aparna for this amazing session on nutrition a lot. And I would like to thank RCTMT Rotary Club of Thane Midtown for organizing this session. And it was great. And now I would like to hand over the platform to Alfie.
I would like to call our President, Protractor Rishabh Mishra, to officially adjourn the webinar.
Thank you, Elfie. Thank you, Aparna ma'am, for coming. And I hope all the doubts and this session was great for you all. And thank you, ma'am. This session was really good and knowledge gaining. Plus, thank you for providing us with that nutrition courses and all. So I hereby Rotaractor Rishabh Mishra, President of RC Midtown, now adjourn this official webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much everyone, thank you for giving me
Thank
this
you, ma'am.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Yes, take care.
Now the webinar has officially ended. Thank you so much for coming. The feedback form is in the chat box. Please fill the form so that you can receive your e-certificate. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'll just
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I just drop my contact number if at all anyone wants to reach out to me for some help, right? So
Yes, sure, ma'am.
if that's okay.
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
So my contact number is in the chat box. You can make use of it if at all you want any more queries, any personal doubts that you want to clear. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Looking forward to meet you guys personally, hopefully soon after we come out of this lockdown.
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
अच्छा रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ कर दो